So I apologize that today is just a lot of sit and get listening to videos. I know it's boring. I know it gets old. If we were in class, I'd obviously be doing things a little bit differently, but we all have to adapt. So if you need to take a break before we do this homework together, please do so. Hopefully it won't take too long. So I am on page 680 in your book. I am doing your entire assignment with you. So as long as you are writing down what I write down completely, you will get 100%. If you don't write everything down, then I'm not going to give you full credit. So number one, the table shows the life expectancy in years for people born in certain years. So A, we're going to construct a scatter plot of the data and then draw and assess a line that represents the data. So first of all, we need to fill in our X and Y axis. So my X is going to be years since 1900. And then my Y is going to be my life expectancy. So now I just graphed my points. 1900 is year 0, so at 0, my Y is 47 3/10. So about there. At 10 years after that, my X is 10, my Y is 50. 20 years, it's 54 1/10. 30 years is 59 7/10. 40 years is 62 9/10. There we go. 50 is 68 2/10. 60 is 69 7/10. 70 is 70 8/10. 80 is 73 7/10. 90 is 75 4/10. And 100 years after 1900, so that would actually be 2000, would be 77 1/10. Okay, so your scatter plot should look something similar to mine. If it's not perfect, that's okay, but it should be pretty close. So now we're going to put in a line of best fit. So I would use either like the side of a book, a ruler, something straight so that you have a perfectly straight line. I'm not going to have a perfectly straight line just because I'm using the Promethean board, but yours should be. That was pretty close to straight anyway. So there's my line of best fit. You can see that I didn't hit every single point, and that's okay. I hit some points, and the other points are pretty close to it, so that's why it's a line of best fit, because it best represents the data. So to assess that line, I'm going to say that most of the points are on the line or close to it. So that's assessing it. Okay, so part B, this is where we're going to write that equation in the slope-intercept form for that line. Remember, today we're not going to focus on interpreting. These steps get to be pretty lengthy, so you might want to grab a scratch piece of paper or write it on your interactive notebook on the other side of the notes that we just took. Hopefully I won't run out of room over there on that side. So on those notes that we just took, step number 1 was to pick 2 easy points. So I'm going to pick this point because I know exactly that its X is 10 and its Y is 50. And then I'm also going to pick this point right here because I know exactly that its X is 40 and its Y is 60. If you want to go through and label those, this would be your X1, Y1. This would be your X2, Y2. So that is step number 1. Step number 2 is to calculate the slope using y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So if I substitute that in, my y2 is 60, minus y1 is 50, over x2 is 40, minus x1 is 10. So 60 minus 50 is 10, over 40 minus 10 is 30, and then I can't actually reduce that fraction down, so it's actually just 1/3 as my slope. So step number 3 is to sub that into the equation. Y equals m we found to be 1/3 x plus b. Okay. Step number 4. I'm going to use 1 point to sub in for x comma y into that equation. So I'm just going to pick that point right there, 10 comma 50. And in place of y, I'm going to write 50 equals, my slope is still 1/3. My x in my coordinate point is 10, and then I'm still missing b. So that time I just subbed that coordinate point into the equation for x and y. That's step number 4. Step number 5, you're going to solve for b. So first of all, on that equation up top, I need to simplify that left side. So I need to take 1/3 times 10, which you get 10/3 plus b. You can use a calculator for this. And that still equals 50 because I didn't do anything. So since 10/3 is positive, in order to get rid of it, I need to make a negative 10/3 because that makes 0 pairs. And then what you do to one side, you always do to the other. So then when I take 50 minus 10/3, I get 58. Oops, sorry. Having calculator issues. I get b on this side, and then 50 minus 10/3 is 46 2/3. So that's what you get for b. So then step number 6 is to sub that b into the equation. Y equals, my slope is still 1/3 x, but now I have a b and it is 46 2/3. So plus 46 2/3. So that is your final equation for your line of best fit. Y equals 1/3 x plus 46 2/3. Okay? All right, for C, we need to use that equation to make a conjecture about the life expectancy for a person born in 2020. So, I'm actually going to erase my work over here so that I have room to do this part. You can see that we can't use, well, we could. Never mind. I'll get back to that in just a second. Okay. So, I need to figure out year 2020. So, year 0 was 1900, which means 100 years after 1900 would be 2000, and then 20 years after that would be 2020. So 120 years after 1900 would give me 2020. Therefore, 0 plus 120 is 120. So in other words, I'm figuring out where x equals 120. What does y equal? So I use that equation. Y equals 1/3 x plus 46 2/3. But I'm going to replace my x now with 120. So y equals 1/3 times 120 plus 46 2/3. So since everything is on that left side, I do the same operation. I take 1/3 times 120, and I get 40, plus 46 2/3 gives me 86 2/3. Therefore, in year 2020, the expected life expectancy is 86 2/3, or about 86 7/10 for rounding if you turned it into a decimal. And we label it years. So hopefully I didn't confuse you on this x equals 120. What I basically did was I figured out, so 2020 is 120 years past 1900. And since 1900 is 0, 0 plus 120 would give me my x for year 2020. So hopefully that makes sense. I didn't write it out, so I figured I should go back and discuss that. All right, so that is your homework. Take a picture, submit it to Google Classroom. Nice work. Good job of persevering. Have a great weekend.